My name's Fred Bond from the Attic Records store in Pittsburgh. My dad opened the store originally in 1980 and started out with all records. Now we have records and CDs, obviously. But, you know, the store, since it's opened, has grown 100-fold, and we're just trying to keep it rolling.
Hi, my name is Jerry Weber. I own Jerry's Records here in Pittsburgh. I'm closing in on 34 years of selling records, and that's all we sell is records. 45, 78s, and 33s. I founded this store with a partner in 1976, and we split up in 1980 and went our separate ways, and I'm still here, and he's retired and happy.
The people, our clientele that downloads music, a lot of them download it to hear it before they buy it, because the quality is just on, you know, if you compare an MP3 to a record, there's no comparison whatsoever. So again, a lot of people that would be into downloading it really aren't collectors. They just want the sound. They don't care if they have a tangible thing in their hand. They just want to fill their iPods up with as much music as they know.
I have a new DVD coming out, and it's been printed in a format that you can play in a DVD player. But everyone's telling me that I should download it. Don't even bother writing liner notes or putting any cover art on it, because no one buys that stuff anymore. And on this tour, I'm finding out that's true. I haven't sold really very much product, which I kind of depend on doing.
Well, iTunes in general, I mean, you could access the songs, but I mean, a lot of people like to come into a store, talk to people, get ideas of what to buy, and just generally, somebody may come in looking for one thing and go out with 10 other things that they didn't even intend on buying, just because they get to see it, other than searching for a specific thing on iTunes.
So it's all people from between the ages of 15 and 35 that come in here and buy records anymore. It's really amazing, this change that's happened in the last 5 years.
All types, because we carry all types of music, so we get people from every walk of life, from 10-year-old kids to 90-year-old grandparents.
There's 50, 60 years of good music out there on vinyl. It sounds good, and it's cheap. Most of the records in here are $3, and the other ones that ain't are $4 and $5. You can go to house sales, pick them up for $1. Estate sales, that's where to go. Estate sales, pick them up for $1 a piece. Build an enormous collection of all kinds of music. Now, obviously, you can't get the new releases unless you pay $20 for a new vinyl release, which I think is ridiculous, and which is why we don't even carry new vinyl around here. But you can get all this music, and then you can burn it on a CD.
Sometimes, like here at Jerry's, you can find, an album that might be available on CD for a lot less. Like I said, you might get it here for $5, whereas even if you download it, it's going to cost you $10 on iTunes or something. So sometimes you can get it for a better price. Also, sometimes I'll buy a recording that might be available on CD because it has a great cover, and it's much nicer to have the real cover and not some little CD or something on your computer. It's nice to see if it has a great cover.
With an LP, you can hear it and feel it. It pushes the air around like real amplifiers and real musicians do. And that's why I like it, because it's a physical experience, not just a mental experience, which CDs are.
When I was a kid, one of the things that came with albums, and I don't know if they do it with the newer albums, but I know the older albums, you'd pull out the sleeve and a lot of times the words were with it. So as a kid, you'd sit there and you read through the words, you'd listen to this album, read the words. I know back in the 80s when they first started coming out with discs, they did the same thing. I don't see that frequently anymore with discs, as the words involved. And I think kind of the part of laying in front of the stereo, looking at the album, looking at the words, kind of just enjoying the whole experience is kind of lost a little bit with the CD.
Well, the sound, first of all, because an MP3 is the size of a pinhead. If you make an MP3 CD, you could actually, it's compressed so small, you could fit 10 to 15 CDs on one disc with an MP3, and with anything else, the more it's compressed, the less quality you're going to get, no matter what.
I've always appreciated the quality of the sound, where it's in the synth quality and the vintage, the on the record. And it could be something very old, like Hank Williams, or it could be something newer, like AC/DC. It could be the B-52s. I mean, it could be, you know, some of the jazz is fantastic on vinyl. So that's kind of been my appeal to it, and I've enjoyed it. Of course, I've got CDs and everything else, but it's just nice to have a different aspect to the music.
Yeah, with records, you got analog. That's, you get more of a deeper sound. It's a continuous stream of music, and you get the higher highs and the lower lows. It fills the room more with music, whereas especially on older things that weren't meant ever to be digital, and digital wasn't even known back then, whenever you try to digitally remaster something like that, it sounds plastic or fake.
What I understand is when they listen to digital music, they compress it, so you lose on your decibels, you lose a high and low range where that's captured on the vinyl and these records. And I think you can really hear that, especially with a decent system when you have some decent speakers, because that's what translates obviously from the vinyl to your ears. And that's the quality I really enjoy, is actually just that more, I guess, I'm not a real purist, but if you use the term purist, that's I think where I find a lot of the appeal.
The cover art to begin with, and if you are lucky, there's good liner notes, not just hyperbole, but liner notes explaining the artist or the music or something about the recording or some historical aspect. So it's I can remember putting records on and reading while I was listening, reading the liner notes, reading whatever, wrote the songs, or so every project I'm ever involved in, or if I'm looking at records, I'm always reading the liner notes.
Plus, there's one other really cool thing about albums is the art. It's neat to get in a little CD package like this size, but you know, when you're getting your whatever it is, I don't know what, 11 by 11, however big these records are, there's some really, really unique art in those, you know, in the covers.
Anybody can have an MP3 and you know, and CDs and stuff, but it's, you know, it's the cool kids like vinyl and the cool girls like the cool kids.
50 years ago, there was over 100 record stores in Pittsburgh. Now there's under 5. It's nothing you're going to get rich over, but we're here because we love the music, and it's basically our collection, you know. Well, the flood, September 17th, 2004, just about the worst thing that could ever happen to a record store. We have 4 storefronts. We had 4 basements totally filled with records that got wiped out. Everything 4 foot high or below in the store got wiped out. We had to rip the floors out, rebuild the shelves, rebuild everything. And the amount of material that we have and had, it took us 3 weeks just to unload everything and throw it out on the streets just to get rid of it all. And, you know, we lost millions of records, you know, thousands of CDs, just millions of dollars worth of inventory just totally lost and unsalvageable. It was basically a blackout. I was a walking zombie at that point. We were doing like 15, 16 hours a day, just throwing records that were covered in mud out on the street. At that point, I wasn't even thinking of the next lunch that I was gonna eat. You know, we're just, you know, and after that, we finally got to the point where, yes, we are gonna try to make a go of it and try to reopen it. But at that point also, every section in the store got affected somehow. There were sections that got, you know, categories like soundtracks or country or things like that that got totally wiped out. There's sections that were missing H through Z that got totally wiped out. So, and still to this day, in 2009, we're still feeling the effects of it because we're still trying to fill in all the holes that were lost. Family, friends, customers, just people off the street, our customers that heard about it through the news or the newspapers or whatever type of media, people would just come down just, you know, without even calling us and just start throwing records out on the street with us. We've had, you know, there were days where we had 50 people working at once, just cleaning up and getting everything out, and that's what helped us get back to where we are now. If it wasn't for the help that we had, we'd still be working on step one. I'm still amazed to this day, you know, just the help that people offered us, and it came from people that we least expected it from, people that we barely recognized that have been coming here on and off, not even steady customers, but just people who dealt with us and, you know, liked what we had, and they just felt that they had to come down and make some type of effort. There was a lot of people here that nobody knew. Pretty much most of our store, what we have, and we have millions of titles, most of what we have you can't go to your regular stores and buy, because most of the regular box stores will carry what's popular by the certain artist at the time, and they won't carry anything beyond that. You know, we carry entire catalogs on CDs by groups. We carry all the reissue albums and a lot of, you know, original albums, imports, you know, things that you just can't get anywhere else.
Well, because I love every kind of music. If I didn't love music, every kind in the world, I wouldn't be able to have a store like this. So we have everything from, well, we have the big three is rock and roll, jazz, and soul anymore. That's what really sells. But the other stuff is like, we have classical, we have ethnic, we have easy listening, we have spoken word, we have comedy, we have reggae, we have blues. We have every type of music that's ever been put out. There's some of it in here. And like I say, we don't put no scratch records out. We give them away. And we don't put, every record here has been like clean screened, and they're all affordable. That's why people come here from all over the world.
The phone rings 1,000 times a day. You never know what the next phone call is going to be. And, you know, just the knowledge you acquire over the years, you know, things that are commonplace to us are things that a lot of other people don't even have any idea of.
I just met Jerry, and this is Jerry's record store. I just met him when I came in last week. And I could best describe him as like Americana, or kind of like a true American character. Here's a gentleman who's really amassed probably close to, and literally 7 figures, I mean 1 million albums over several decades. He's his own man. You come in, he is who he is. There's no, you know, there's no pretension. It's not about making the most amount of money. It's a passion in what he does, and that's clearly lost when you're going to the, you know, the big superstores, you know, to whether buy music or whatever product you're buying. I really think that, you know, people with this type of passion and who can maintain something of this stature it's a lost art, and you really get the experience of just the knowledge that they have.
There's a lot of our customers that are consistent customers that as soon as before something even comes out, I know what people want, and you know, whenever they call, a lot of times people don't even question me. I'll just say, I got these 10 CDs or 10 records set aside for you, and they're things that I know you'd want, and they don't even question it, they just order it.
There's young kids that come in here with their dads. They're like 15, and when they come up, they go, "I just bought them a turntable," and I'll say to the kids, "See that Beatles album in your hand there?" Because they buy a lot of classic rock for the man. I say, "That album's 40 years old." I said, "Now, you're 15, right? So if you keep that you're liable to live to be 70 or 80 years old. You'll have a 100-year-old Beatles album. Just think about that. That's amazing, right? All you gotta do is take care of it. Someone else took care of it for 40 years. You take care of it." I try to get them into it, you know, get them into that idea of owning something that's 100 years old. You know, just imagine that. You know, all these records from the 60s and 70s that are here, they're already 40 and 50 years old. So the young people can keep them, and they'll really have something.
Music in general, music brings people back to better memories in the most part. Some may bring back bad memories, but music in general is something people can relate to other people for. But a lot of times it's the sentimentality. You know, music means a lot to people, and it has probably since the beginning of time. You know, but music will always be there, no matter in one form or another. It's always going to be there, even if it's some microchip beamed on from space. You know, I mean, music's always going to be a part of people's lives.
I don't do it for money because anymore I'm making less now than I made 15 years ago. I used to have a CD store in Oakland where Pitt and Carnegie Mellon is. I made the most money I ever made in my life when I had the CD store, because CDs, you know, they were flying out when they first come out. Everybody was dumping their vinyl, but I was there for that. So people would come in with 400 vinyl records, say, "Just give me some money for give me some credit for CDs." So I stockpiled all that stuff, you know. So I'm closing in on 2 million records. There's 1 million here and 1 million in my warehouse.
You know, we're gonna do it as long as we can do it. You know, we put our heart and soul into it. We're here 60 hours a week. And like I said, it's for the love of it, not to get rich. It's for the love of the music.
Besides, I feel responsible for all these. What am I going to do, you know? I always say I'll go like this, price a record up and go, you know, that'll be it. I'll be done. I want to die with my pricing gun in my hand.